one night and I like Google opiate addiction. I get like an 800 number and it like links me to like I call and they're like, there's a methadone clinic. So I like go the next day to the methadone clinic. So now like every day, you know, I sort of go and like get enrolled and I'm like, I'm going to do better, right? I'm going to like do better. I'm going to like take the methadone. You know how that goes, right?
I would borrow money from people in the building.
Yeah.
Strangers, basically, people I knew in the elevator. And then I would tell my parents and they would give me money to pay them back. But I would tell my parents that I borrowed more.
There was a girl I had known, this is horrible to talk about, and I told her I was like a contractor for Blackwater. I was like all like fucking, all the things I saw.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's where the PTSD came from, Iraq.
Yeah.
Can you think of any really horrible things that happened when you were in Wisconsin? Are there any great stories?
I mean,
hello, welcome to Dopey, the podcast on drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. And you're Ian Martin from I'ma Eat This.
yes, that's me.
And Ian came to Katz's. The manager at Katz's, Charlie, was like, I want to get this guy, I'ma Eat This, in the store to do some content. You came in, Charlie grabs me and tells me to tell you about Dopey. I tell you about Dopey and you say, I'm a recovering heroin addict.
Yeah, exactly. I just had celebrated 10 years sober on April 6th, so that was a big deal for me.
10 years. How old are you?
I'm 41.
So you got sober early. I got sober at 41. You got sober at 31. I'm
31.
coming up on 10 years this summer.
Well, that's awesome.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's very rare. I mean, let me ask you. For me, it's very rare, first of all, when Dopey and Katz's cross.
Right.
Very unlikely.
Right.
And then even more unlikely is a heroin addict. How often are you stumbling upon heroin addicts in your food influencer work?
Honestly, not almost ever, you know? And, I was like a big like pills, like Oxy guy. And I only got into heroin kind of at the very end because of like everything got so expensive. But yeah, man. Opiates, downers. I don't meet a lot of people that were like addicted to like, you know, opiates, heroin, downers, Xanax, and that kind of thing. I meet more like alcoholics or like cocaine and like uppers addicts, you know?
Especially, I think, in New York City AA, it's a lot of like high functioning people.
Yeah.
But I want to hear the whole story.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Manhattan.
Yeah, I grew up on the Upper West.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Columbia Prep for high school, but I was like a public school kid. So I'll tell you a little story. I was like a PS 87. I went to the Delta program in...
Where's PS 87?
PS 87's on 77th in Amsterdam. It was a great school.
Is that connected to the computer school? Is that the one?
No. Okay. IS 44 was the middle school across the street.
Right. My dad taught there.
Yeah, that was like I used to do like an after school program in IS 44 when I was in like 3rd and 4th grade at PS 87. It was scary because IS 44 was like kind of a bad school back then. Now I think it's like a nice school. I don't know, but I would take this like chemistry class with this guy, Mr. Cavazzos, who would like pick us up from PS 87. And all I remember is him just like lighting a lot of stuff on fire with a Bunsen burner. But anyway, I went to the Delta program at Booker T, Washington, which was like this magnet program inside of Booker T on 108th in Columbus. And that was like a really bad school. So it was like scary, but I was in this like good program. So I was this like sort of like semi-hardened like public school kid. And my mom's job, she worked at the UN. They had some program where they would pay for your kid's school. And she got this promotion and got eligible for that. So they switched me into private school.
And they paid for it.
And the UN paid for it. So I switched from like public school. I was going to go to Brooklyn Tech. I wasn't smart enough to get into Bronx Science or Stuyvesant. And then they switched me to like Columbia Prep, and it was like this totally different world.
And were you the tough kid in Columbia Prep?
I was not the tough kid, but I was like
the edgy kid?
I don't even know what I was, but I was like kind of like, you know, watching my back a little bit, and then like people are like my classmates are like kissing each other on the cheek saying hello, like how was the Hamptons this summer, you know? And I was like, what the fuck is the Hamptons? You know,
super
like
bougie,
Yeah.
soiree having private school kids.
yeah, like a lot of like East Side, like Jewish kids from Park Avenue. So it was like very like a totally sort of different world than I was like kind of used to, you know?
So how was that?
I felt very different, you know? I made friends. I was a good athlete, so I like played sports. I would say I was probably pretty well liked. Like I was well liked. I was sort of well known at my school, but I never quite felt like a part of. Like
Well known for what?
playing sports.
What was your sport?
I was a baseball player and a soccer player, but you know, I was like a goofball, kind of acted up a little bit, like attention seeking kind of guy. Kind of funny, I would think. I don't know, you know, like I get in trouble like a decent amount in school for just like doing stupid shit, you know, like fucking around in the library or something, like nothing crazy, but just like dumb teenager shit. But I didn't like summer in the Hamptons. I didn't like I didn't have like a car. Like when I was a senior, my parents didn't like buy me a car to drive, you know. So it was like I felt very different, you know.
Because you were.
Yeah, I didn't grow up with like with parents that had those kind of means, you know. So I was always a little insecure about that.
It's funny in New York how that works. Like that there's poor people, there's middle class people, and then there's people that are so rich you can't even comprehend it.
Yeah.
My school was all of the above. Like my school was like a free kind of private school kind of thing.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends like had a penthouse, and then the rest of us kind of lived here in Stuyvesant Town before it was private and whatever. But it was not like class was not the dividing line in my school. But I would imagine like I almost had to go to humanities, and I was terrified of doing that. I was like the dumbest kid in Hunter, and they suggested I leave every year.
Yeah.
When I was like, I don't think I'm going to leave, but like. And I didn't really feel, see, it's funny, like the alcoholism or like when we feel different. And I didn't really have the feeling in high school. It sounds like you had a seed of it in high school.
I did, even in middle school, because like I was sort of like the white kid.
And it's pretty multicultural on the Upper West Side in public school.
It is. And at Booker T in particular, it was like 1,000 kids from the neighborhood up there who were mostly like Hispanic, you know, like Latino background, right? And then there was like 150 of us, like diverse but like smarter kids, white, Jewish, you know, whatever, like in that program. And so we kind of got like targeted a little bit, right?
I can imagine.
And then high school was like sort of the opposite, where like now I was like probably upper middle class growing up, but I was like or at least I felt like the poor kid at this school.
You were?
Yeah. Relatively, you know, and so I always kind of just was like, I wanted to be something else, you know. I always wanted to be different.
And when's the first time you started drinking or using anything?
Like high school, really. Smoking a little weed after like soccer practice with like the older kids.
And you practice in Central Park?
I feel like we'd go to like Randall's Island a lot. Yeah, they'd like bus us over there. You know, smoke a little joint with the seniors, trying to kind of like be cool, right? I'm like 14 and, you know, 125-pound little kid, you know, and I'm like, all right, let me try to fit in, you know, and then probably like junior year, maybe like kids would like throw parties when their parents would be out of town, and we'd like drink, you know, and smoke a little pot and, you know, whatever, like nothing like normal shit. But
that was like the greatest time to be alive.
It was great.
What an exciting time.
Oh yeah.
To be in Manhattan and like be coming of age and having like these parties. Like when in the beginning it's scary. But the second it's not scary, it's like the greatest thing.
It's the greatest. I could like talk to girls, you know, I wasn't like fearful when I was kind of like had a couple drinks, you know, so.
I couldn't handle drinking. I would get sick. For me, it was weed.
Yeah.
And it was like, as soon as before weed, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And as soon as I smoked weed at those parties, I was like, I can do whatever I want.
Come out of your shell, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to college?
University of Wisconsin.
Wow. Why'd you do that?
You know what? I don't even know. I went to visit in the middle of winter, and I liked the big campus. I guess I think I wanted a change, you know.
You were like, fuck New York for a bit.
A little bit, yeah. I was kind of, I don't know. I don't know how I made decisions back then, but I remember thinking that seemed like a good idea, you know. And then off I went.
What did you study?
God, nothing. I mean, I got written up on my first day in the dorms for having like a 6-pack of beer. And yeah, I like needed a screwdriver to put my like my bed together. So I like walked down the hall. People were still moving in. It was pretty empty. There was the first open door. I like knock on the door, open, the guy. I'm like, hey, do you have a screwdriver? He's like, yeah. I use the screwdriver. I'm like, let me make a friend, So I grabbed 2 beers and I walked down the hall after I put my bed together and like toss him a beer and crack mine open. I'm like, hey, I'm Ian, from New York. And he like catches, I like toss him the beer, he catches it, kind of looks at me and looks at the open door and it says R.A. Tim R.A. On the door. And he's like, what are you doing? I was like,
Isn't this college? Is this what I'm
wrote
supposed
me
to do?
up on my first day.
So what, you get to college and you're like, I'm going to buy a 6-pack.
I'm going to buy a 6-pack, a pack of cigarettes, a tin of chew. I didn't even do that. Like, I just like, I was ready to party.
You were ready. Was that like a shift in identity when you were at home?
Yeah.
Or did you buy 6-packs?
No.
None of it.
I never bought anything.
So you just get to college and you're like, this is what I'm going to do.
I don't think intentionally, but like, yeah, and I it was great. I was different again, but I was like the guy from New York. It was sort of interesting, but I was like, I'm going to like party and drink and make friends. And I did. And it was great, but also I didn't learn anything,
Well, I'm sure like your learning was stunted.
Very.
That's an interesting, I think, experience for every kid in New York that goes to college. It's like the easiest identity is the kid from New York. For me, it was like I went to Ithaca College and it was like big school, fratty school, athlete school. And then there was like, fratty athlete people, which I was not. And then there were like total weirdos, which I was not. I was like a normal kid from here, which is not like anything there. And I didn't know what to do. And I couldn't find identity until I found Bud. Yeah.
I mean, my identity was drinking and smoking and, that like I didn't really have an identity other than, hey, if you're hanging out with me and we're all together, we're going to get drunk. We're going to go out. We're going to cause chaos. And it was a good time,
And now you have this giant Instagram channel where you're reviewing restaurants and everything looks incredibly delicious. Did you have like dreams of doing media stuff when you were a kid?
No, not at all. I couldn't even tell you what I wanted to do with my life. I think when I was little, I probably would have told you I wanted to be like a Major League Baseball player or something, or, but I never had any designs on any like notoriety or like being in media. That was never on my radar, ever. That's not something I ever thought about doing.
Did you find at school that you like descended into debauchery, or was it never that bad?
Oh, no, I descended into debauchery very quickly.
So tell us about it.
Oh, my God. Well, my freshman year, I got written up like 13 times probably in my first year.
Was it that guy over and over again?
Every time. I was friends with these girls who lived a few floors up from me, and it was like guy floor, girl floor. I lived in this like massive dorm, like 500-600 students, and I made friends with these girls, and I would just like go up there, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night drunk and just like sleep on their futon. I don't know. I just wanted to do that. I didn't want to be in my room with my like stupid roommate, even though he was a great guy, but that was more exciting. And I'd get written up for like using the bathroom on the women's floor all the time. Like it seemed like their RA just knew when I was coming, and I'd like be coming out of the bathroom and she'd be like, right up,
Did they catch you sleeping in their room?
That I don't think that was actually a problem. I don't think you couldn't do that. But oh my God, we would run downstairs to like the other guy's floor and just smash everything in their bathroom. We projected porn onto the other tower. This guy worked at volunteered at the AV club, got this like professional projector and projected porn onto the whole tower. I put in all my furniture from my room into the elevator and like sat there and like rode it up and down with people like all night.
Animal House-esque stunts.
Yeah, and beyond. It just nonstop.
Was it more drinking or smoking?
Drinking.
Okay, so like do you think you're a proper alcoholic?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know, I have to, if I'm being honest, I waver on that a little bit because I never craved alcohol, but alcohol was like the key to sort of coming out of my shell, you know? So I never woke up in the morning and drank, right, to like stop the shake, sort of like go to class, but like I could not function in a social setting without having some drinks. You know, I wouldn't go out to a bar or a party with if I didn't have some drinks in me, and a lot of drinks in me, to be honest, you know? So I would say I was an alcoholic.
And drugs weren't a big deal then?
A little pot, little cocaine, you know, nothing beyond that.
Did you love Coke or no?
It helped me drink more, and it was a lot of fun.
It's a great tool for the drinker.
Yeah. Tremendous amounts of pot, though.
Did you love weed?
No, but I smoked every single day, a lot.
And you didn't love it?
It made me paranoid. It could be fun, right? Sit around with the boys and like watch, you know, 2001: A Space Odyssey and just like get stoned out of your mind.
I've never seen that movie.
Oh, man.
I feel like I've really missed out on that.
You missed smoking a bunch of pot and watching it because that's an interesting experience.
It's a great stoner movie.
But you know what? It's also great without. I watched it like 6 months ago and it's fantastic.
I need to watch that movie.
It's so good. It's so good.
I was in love with weed, like in love with it, but I couldn't drink. And then I would take, because I'd get sick, and then I would take psychedelics.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my college experience. And for me, like, it was definitely without a doubt, it wasn't, I don't look at weed as a gateway drug, but it was totally gateway habitual. Like, once I knew that there wasn't going to be a day that I wasn't smoking pot, it became very easy to do everything.
Yeah.
What did you study?
Oh my God!
What was your major?
I started out as an engineering student, if you can believe that, and just got demolished by like calculus and these physics classes. I ended up getting kicked out of school and had to go to community college out there for a year because my grades were so bad. And then, you know, just decided during community college I was going to be a history major because I could sort of bang out and knock out a paper like relatively easily.
What did your dad do?
What do you mean, for work? Commercial real estate.
And your mom worked at the UN.
Worked at the UN.
So history was kind of in the air with the UN.
My mom is a great like writer. She's so good with words. So I think maybe it comes a little naturally. My dad really isn't, but I got that from my mom for sure. Because I could just sort of write, like I could read something and like regurgitate like a paper, an essay on something. So like that history lends itself to that.
Sure.
So I went to community college, switched to history, and then graduated with a history degree from Wisconsin in like 5.5 years.
And what was the plan?
There was no plan.
No, like education, be a teacher, or anything?
None.
So you graduate with the history degree, do you stay out there?
What do you mean?
In Wisconsin?
No, I moved right back.
You moved right back home?
Yeah, right after school ended.
And you moved back in with your folks?
Yep.
Were you like, I'm happy to be home? Because it's like, you've been away from New York, or are you like? I think
so.
Yeah.
I was tired of that. You know, it's a relatively small town. I think I had like sort of burnt a lot of bridges there, and I also was like a year and a half behind. So like a lot of my friends had left. You know, it was time to leave. You know, I was ready to go. I'd caused enough sort of problems there.
Can you think of any really horrible things that happened when you were in Wisconsin? Are there any great stories?
I mean, you know. Oh man, we were all drinking one night, and a bunch of my idiot friends, we did, like, I don't know what got into us, but we decided we were going to go pick a fight with like these guys that lived like 3 houses down. One of them had maybe gotten into some, I don't know what started this, but we were all just sitting there drinking and just working each other up, and we're like, let's go beat this shit. Like, we're just going to go like literally kick the door in and just like, I don't even know what the plan was. It was probably
pillage.
Pillage. And so it was like 7 or 8 of us. And
was that a thing? Was that a routine pillaging?
No.
You were not pillagers?
No, I'm not a fighter. Like, I'm not a tough guy, right?
But that night you were like, let's go.
I was a freshman. I think it was probably like some guys who were a couple years older who were around. And so as we're leaving, I grab a kitchen knife from the kitchen, like a big knife, and I put it in my fleece, you know, like kind of like hide it. And we're kind of, all psyched up. It's like 2 degrees outside, and we're walking down there, and we go in the house and just start like kick the door in. They had like a vending machine for some reason, like just demolish that and just start wailing on people. Like, I'm not punching anyone, and in the chaos, I like pull the knife out, and my buddy is like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'm like, he's like, "What, are you gonna stab somebody?" And I like, nothing happened, but like,
yes,
dude,
that's insane,
right?
Yeah,
and like, had someone like attack me, I probably would have like, I don't know.
What else are you gonna do?
Right? I mean, so like a lot of like really stupid shit like that. I hung off the side of my friend's balcony once from the 13th floor to as like a joke. Yeah.
And how did you pull yourself back up?
I was in this, it was like a night of drinking. I'm in my friend's apartment. She lived in like a sort of a tall apartment. This was like, when people moved out of the dorms, she lived in like an apartment building on campus. And I don't know what we were doing. I'm just getting rambunctious in the apartment after a night of drinking. And I'm like, hey, watch this. And I open her sliding door and climb over the side and just hang down. And I'm like waving at people.
One arm hanging. You're very, very in shape at this point?
I don't know.
Yes.
I mean,
you had to be.
I guess.
Just to be confident enough to hang off by one arm.
Or, idiotic enough.
And wasted.
Yeah. And I just climbed back over, and she like.
One arm, pull yourself back up?
I probably used 2, came back over. And I mean, God, I hate
you survived.
I hate to think what would happen. And like 100 stories like that, right?
Right.
Very, very irresponsible.
So you come home, are you just drinking straight away the same way?
I feel as though it changed a little, right? A lot of people I knew from school actually moved to the city or were from the city. And so people got jobs. So we couldn't drink like 7 days a week now, but like... So I'm kind of waiting now for like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And those are like my days to sort of shine now, But like Monday, Tuesday, people are kind of out. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like no one's really, they got to go to work. So that's when like the first hint of, I'm like, wait, what are we
supposed to do now?
We just all had so much fun for 4 or 5 years. Like, what do you mean you don't want to drink on a Sunday now? So that was when, if I look back, that was sort of the beginnings of like, the separation, right? Where like I was like, why are people not doing this anymore? Because that was who I was.
So what became of Monday and Tuesday?
I think I kind of hung on a little bit, right? And then I'll tell you, it was probably like the summer I got back, or maybe it was like I can't remember exactly when it was, but I wake up one morning. I'm living at my parents' house, and I wake up with like a sore neck. It's just like I had like I slept funny. And I'm like, Mom, my neck hurts, right? I'm like 22, 23 or whatever. And she's like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I'll make you a doctor's appointment. So she makes me an appointment at the doctor. I go, tell the doctor my neck hurts. And he's like, okay, here's a bottle of Vicodin. And that was my introduction. So I think what happened was on the days that we couldn't go out, I'd pop a Vicodin or something like at night and watch a movie. Innocently enough, no kind of idea where this was going to lead me.
So you're 21 or something.
I'm like 22.
22, and you go to the doctors and you say, my neck hurts, and they give you Vicodin. It's like a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's going to happen now.
It's like 2006.
Yeah, right. It's like just right then, pre-Oxy era or Oxy era, right?
Maybe like early stages of Oxy era.
Right. And do you fall in love straight away?
Immediately. It was the missing puzzle piece, right? I was going through a breakup.
What do you think the neck injury was?
Nothing. Have you ever had that happen? You sleep funny and your neck, like it was nothing crazy. It was literally like normal, just sort of
stiff neck.
Yeah. But I'm like, I don't know. My neck hurts. Go to the doctor. Here's a bottle of pills. I mean, looking back, it was so stupid, but I had no idea. I was going through a breakup at the time. I'll spare you the details.
Why? Those are sometimes great. It was a love affair?
I was seeing this girl who lived in Chicago, who was a friend of someone I knew from school who came to visit one weekend.
The girl came to visit in Wisconsin.
She came to visit New York.
Okay.
We met at a party. We started this like thing. There was this airline called ATA at the time, and you could fly to Chicago for like $60. So every couple weeks I'd fly out there. Every couple weeks she'd fly over here, and we'd just go out and get wasted. But I was like drinking too much sometimes, and she was like, "You're blacking out. This isn't fun." And I kind of couldn't stop. And I don't know how much time we have, but
we have plenty of time.
I went to see. So my ex-girlfriend from Wisconsin was a year younger than me, and I flew to Wisconsin one weekend for her graduation. Didn't tell the girl I was seeing, and they all kind of found out about it. And so the girl I was seeing like broke up with me.
Wait, why did you hook up with the girl in Wisconsin?
I tried to, but not successfully. She had enough of me.
Right.
We were broken up, but I was like, let me go see if I can,
And Chicago girl finds out.
Chicago girl finds out because Wisconsin girl tells her.
Right. Horrible.
Because she knew that I was screwing around.
Right.
Bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I deserved it.
These are all the origin stories. They're all very important pieces of the puzzle.
And so, not to bore you with the details, but I was...
also, there's no boring details.
Okay.
The details are great.
I still want to overshare.
No, but only share whatever you're comfortable with. And if you say something you're not comfortable with, you tell me and we'll take it out.
Cool.
There's nothing, like, you're safe.
Cool. Good. So I... not only was my neck hurting, but I was like going through this like pretty like awful sort of like psychological pain, this like loss, this embarrassment, this shame.
It's real.
And I had absolutely zero tools to process it. Like I was just like going to work and miserable.
And your one tool is drinking.
Yeah. So I can't do that every day. And I remember taking these Vicodins and like, that like with this like wave of like calm and peace and serenity would like wash over me. And I remember sort of being like, oh, this is how I'll like cope with feelings. I had no other method.
Isn't it amazing? Like the first opioid, and like, you're like, holy shit, this can do everything.
Everything.
There's nothing that this cannot accomplish.
It was like the first time maybe in my life that I had ever sort of felt any sense of like peace and like serenity in my entire life. So I lived for 22 years to that point, never really feeling okay. And I finally felt okay.
See, I think I felt some peace and serenity from weed.
Yeah.
And from doing my friends and from doing stuff that I liked. Opioids gave me this feeling like that nothing mattered.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that because I was so anxious and neurotic.
Yeah.
So to feel that nothing mattered was like, oh yeah, that's what I need. And for you, you're in so much pain. It's a painkiller.
Yeah. Physical pain, emotional pain,
spiritual pain,
spiritual pain. It took care of all of it, That was the beginning.
Yeah. So what happens?
Now I'm starting to like take one like every day, like every night, right? To like chill out, relax, watch something on TV. And then it dawns on me this brilliant idea. What would make like work a lot better? Like
Vicodin.
Take one at lunch.
Sure.
Right? Oh, maybe take one in the morning and then one at lunch.
But the fucked up thing is that in the beginning, it actually does make work better.
Work was awesome. I'm like emailing the shit out of people. Everything's cool. My boss is not, like doesn't matter, doesn't bother me. It was all good.
Energy. It's weird, right?
Yeah. I'm like on the phone. I'm doing great. I'm actually like probably doing pretty good at work, for a little while.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when I have a bottle of 90 and now I'm taking like 4 a day instead of like 2, I'm running out. So I start seeing this guy from there was like a pain management clinic on 86th and Central Park West.
Amazing. Dr. Jonathan Zismore?
Probably something. Yeah. Oh my God.
You remember Dr. Jonathan Zismore?
Yeah, the subway.
Foot pain, yeah.
No, wasn't he the dermatologist?
I don't know.
No, Zismore was
the dermatologist?
Yeah, come on.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Zismore. Yeah. So I see this guy on 86th Street, and now I'm like walking in like, oh, my neck, I got this like horrible pain. And he's giving me Percocets. Percocets are a little stronger.
Do you feel like I am doctor shopping, or is that not a thing?
I knew I was faking the pain to get medication, but still sort of was like, what's the big deal? You know, like it's kind of helping me out.
Were you getting any other drugs at the time? Were you getting weed? Were you getting coke? Was it part of your partying? Were you partying still, or were you just depressed?
I was definitely partying. I started seeing anyway. Somehow I meet this guy or I meet this girl. I can't remember who it was first. I think I meet the girl somewhere. No. I meet this guy somewhere. He's like a friend of a friend. He lives on the east side. And so now I'm kind of doing the Vicodins, the Percocet, right? But I'm not drinking a ton. But I meet this guy, and now I'm going over to his house like Thursday and Fridays after work, and we're just like doing tremendous amounts of coke. Like me and him are just doing lines and making big plans to like go to like Dorian's or some like other shitty like but
you can curse.
Some stupid Upper East Side like Second Avenue bars to like, and we're gonna like get a bunch of girls, we're gonna bring them back, we're gonna do coke, and then me and him end up just like snorting coke till like 1 a.m, going to like Dorian's for like 10 minutes and being like, let's get the fuck out of here and go do more coke.
That sounds right.
And then I meet the coke dealer, who was this like 18-year-old girl from Australia.
Wow.
Then I start seeing her. So now that was like really like kind of a rebound thing from the like, and I'm still in like this horrible amount of like emotional pain. But now like me and her are like going out, getting high and whatever. And I'm like feeling like a little bit better because I thought that would help.
It always helps.
Yeah.
Not to mention she has coke.
She's got coke.
Do you have to pay top dollar or pay going rate, or is she giving you coke? What is her deal? How's an Australian 18-year-old selling coke in Manhattan?
I don't even know, to be honest, to this day. I don't even think I like asked.
I wonder what happened to her. Listen, Dopey Nation, if you know of an Australian 18-year-old girl in 2000, what year was it?
Oh my God. She's probably,
2005? So she's got to be
2006. She's got to be like 35.
If you know of a 30-something-year-old coke dealer from Australia, please write to DopeyPodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay, now back to the story.
Yeah, and please let me know how she's doing. No, I'm kidding.
So hope you're doing well. We have a lot of Australian listeners.
It was actually funny. I thought about her the other day. I was like, I wonder how she's
What was
doing.
her name?
Jackie.
Right.
And last I heard, I think she was living in California, but I haven't talked to her in many years.
I hope she's doing okay.
I do too, actually. I do, and I I have an amends to make at some point.
Do you want to make it on the show?
I would. You know what? I would do that.
Well, what was the scene like with Jackie? How much coke is she selling? Like, where did she live? How did she support herself? Just selling coke?
She was a ballet dancer.
Oh, that's amazing.
She was like a nanny, and then she's selling coke. I think when we kind of started seeing each other, she sort of got out of the selling coke game and was sort of like nannying and like dancing like in a ballet company. I remember going to see her show once. She was actually like an awesome dancer. But yeah, she's like 18. I'm like 24, 23 probably, so I'm a little bit older, but like, I mean, I'm still a kid,
Totally.
And then we're just like running around, drinking. I get her into the pills. So like now a lot of times we're like laying around my apartment, just like, taking Vicodins and like watching TV and just like being like total bums. And so now my Saturday night goes from...
It's like young junkie love.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was so in love. I pop a couple, Vicodins, and I'm like, oh my God, she's like the best.
Oh, it's the best. To be young and on opiates and in that situation and without consequences.
Oh, no, we were like going to get married,
Yeah.
like...
It's perfect.
Yeah. She's like the love of my life, right? When I'm like high as hell. And, but I'm still the same kind of, like, it's not enough for me, right? I'm like, she kind of catches me like reaching out to the girl that broke, it's all that bullshit, right? And so I treated her horribly. And so eventually that ended.
Would that be the amend?
The amend would be, I'm ashamed to say, but there were times where I like really like let it rip and like just screamed at her, never anything physical, really.
What would you scream at her for?
Oh, because she's like going through my phone or she's on my case about something. And I'm like, you dumb fucking bitch, stuff that I really regret, right? And just being sort of a shitty person, man, right?
So Jackie, if you're listening, Ian is deeply sorry. I can see it on your face.
I'll tell you something. 10 years sober, the the girl, like other people in my life, not just like romantic relationships, but like I still have some amends to make, but like people that like I don't know where they are. I don't really have a way to get in touch with them, but I still think about it, man. I still think about that
Well, that's
stuff.
where like living amends come in.
Yeah.
And and like sometimes that has to be kind of enough.
It's painful.
Well, I mean, you can hunt Jackie down through social media. Do you think she watches I'ma Eat This?
I don't know.
I hope she does.
I hope she does too.
I hope she's okay.
If you're listening, Jackie, I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. And hit me up sometime.
Nice. Now, you're in a volatile relationship with a Coke dealer, eating Vicodins and Percocets.
Mm-hmm.
Is Vicodin done? Is it just Percs at that point?
Percocets are stronger.
I know, delicious.
Now one of those is like 2 Vicodins. But so now I'm taking 2 or 3 Percocets. So now I'm just like, you see, it's like slowly ramping up, right? That relationship ends because of me being out of control.
She's just done.
Yeah, she's done. A million times over, right? Catches me doing this, catches me doing that. And that ends. And then, now I'm in this like abyss. But I'm alone, and now I can really kind of go crazy.
So what does that look like?
My cousin starts, we have this big scheme. My cousin lived in Florida at the time. And I don't know if you know about like the 08s to like 2012.
Yeah, the great Florida pill mill situation.
What a time to be alive.
So how did you get involved with that?
He's introduced me to like the blues, the 30 milligram blues.
Was he like hooked on the blues at that point? And you're hooked on Percocets.
Hooked.
How does it come up that you both are hooked?
I went to visit during the summer, and
where in Florida?
Pompano Beach.
Oh, Pompano Beach. Shout out to Pompano.
Delray. The whole.
Yeah. It's the great pill mill and recovery moment.
It's crazy down there.
We have a great dopey listener from Pompano, Scott Wick. Shout out to Scott Wick.
Shout out to Scott Wick. Pompano, home of Kodak Black, too, if you didn't know. That's where he's from.
I didn't know that.
The rapper, yeah. And home of the Goodyear Blimp.
Were you ever rapping in Wisconsin?
No.
Did you ever throw down a freestyle in Wisconsin? You weren't that New York kid?
I wasn't that New York kid.
Okay. So, all right, back to Pompano. Pompano seems like a crazy place.
Pompano is like... So my mom's family, a bunch of my mom's side that lives down there, a lot of addiction on my mom's side. I don't know how it came up. We're hanging out in the summer. That was my family vacation, right? We didn't go for family vacations anywhere. We went to visit my mom's side in Florida, and then my dad is from Oklahoma, but his family lived in Kansas City. So we'd go to Florida and Kansas City, stay for a week. And I don't know how it came up, but, when I was like 14, 15, me and my cousin would like go, he was like 2 years older than me. So he was like the older brother I never had. So we'd go out and like have a few beers, right? I was like, oh man, he's so cool. I don't know how it comes up. I'm visiting that summer, and he's like, hey, I got these little blues. He gives me like a quarter one of them and knocked me on my ass.
And you had been eating Percocets like the whole year.
Yeah, but these 30 milligram blues, a quarter of that, and I was like on another planet.
Yeah.
And I felt great. So now our big scheme, maybe like during that fall, was he was gonna mail me overnight FedEx me like a box of blue, a bunch of blues, and I'm gonna sell them. But I end up eating them all, and now the like financial burden is starting to come in, right? Because he's like selling me like for $300 once a week. He's like sending me. So now I'm spending like $300 a week. I'm not making any money, and now I'm just like the addiction is like getting worse and worse.
Had you bought the apartment at that point?
Yes.
What was that? Like that was just you were functional.
I was like functional, and my grandmother, my father's mother, had like bought these like 30-year like double E government bonds.
Awesome.
So I had like 40 grand in bonds, some money saved up, and at the time it was like the housing crisis. You could put like 10% down, and I had like enough for a down payment.
Did your dad talk you through it being like this real estate guy?
Yes. I had a scheme at work at my first job at that e-discovery job where I could like get BlackBerry phones through the corporate discount. And I'm like once a week I forgot about this. I'm buying a box of 10 Blackberries for $500, and I'm selling them to a guy for cash on like East 40-something Street at a phone store for $5,000.
Amazing.
So I'm making $4,500 a week for like 4 or 5 months. And that also went into the apartment money, which was crazy.
Well, and how old are you then?
23.
Right. It's like I got my apartment. I got a studio in these buildings when I was 23, 24. And if you grow up in Manhattan and you see everyone paying all this rent and there's an opportunity to get a home base, you're like, I'm fucking getting it.
Yeah.
And people like you and me, like, was very rare for a young person to have a good, affordable spot in Manhattan.
I don't think I know anyone maybe other than you. I'm probably forgetting someone, but you're right. Very rare.
It was like, for me, my mom put me on the list here when I was 11.
Yeah.
And my name came up when I was 22. But they kicked me out because my parents... See, you still live in your place.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a resentment about this. But I couldn't... I got so bad that I couldn't afford $300 a month, which is what I had to pay because I put like 10 grand down because I hustled some other shit.
Yeah.
And then I go to treatment and they tell my parents that if they pay the $300 for me, that I'm going to relapse and die. Wow. So I had to give up the apartment here.
Oh, $300.
I know.
My parents paid my mortgage and maintenance for years.
Well, you're glad you didn't go to Renaissance.
Yeah, I went to Silver Hill. But also, by the way, my parents like blew through their savings.
Taking care of
their like life savings doing this. So it's not like I owe them.
Well, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Anyway. So you're in Florida with your cousin, and he's shipping you 300
I'm
blues.
back. He's shipping me the blues, like 100 blues a week.
And is your apartment like a fucking wasteland?
Oh, yeah. So I lived with my buddy from college. So we were like splitting... The maintenance. He was basically, I was essentially living there for like $800 a month.
Yeah.
So I was sort of hanging on because I could so it was a 1-bedroom. We divided the living room, made it a 2-bed. So yeah, me and him. Now I introduced him to pills. And this guy is a kid I went to Wisconsin with. He's living here. He's like going to teaching, NYU Teachers College. Great guy. Another guy I owe a huge amends to.
What's your amends to him?
Oh my God. Just berating him for things.
It's crazy, like the anger side of opiates. Like we get so crazy.
Bullying him into like giving me money and
my place. How are you gonna live here?
Ripping him off, telling him that they cost 20 when they were 10. Just being horrible. I haven't talked to him in many years.
Really?
Yeah.
Still?
We were in touch early in my sobriety.
Okay, so did you make an amend at that point?
I didn't. He reached out to me and told me he was struggling to stay sober. And I told him, I was probably like 6-8 months sober. I told him, let me know what you need. And I haven't heard from him in a long time. I text him from time to time, and he never writes back.
Never, ever?
Yeah, but I've heard from mutual friends that like he's been in touch, so I know he's like alive. But
what's his first name?
Tommy.
Tommy, if you're listening, Ian's feeling it.
I miss you, dude. I get emotional thinking about him in particular.
Yeah, I could see it
because I know he needed help, and
well, you offered. I mean, you can't. It's like with this thing, everybody who's struggling, all you can do is offer, and then after that, there's like you can chase them, but you can't do anything.
I was new, and I don't think I really knew how to help. I was sort of like going to a lot of meetings, but not really like doing the service aspect as much. So looking back, I wish I had done more, but anyway.
You'll have the opportunity again. Hopefully Tommy shows up again.
Yeah.
So what is the life like when you're getting these packages? Tommy's still in the place with you?
Tommy's in the place. I still have a job. I had this crazy boss at my job. We're snorting pills in his office. Like my manager, like he's cheating on his wife with like a girl my age who works there.
In the office?
Yeah, he's like late 40. We're all going out. We're drinking. I got people at the house getting hammered. Me and Tommy are getting high every night. We're going out drinking. Coke is involved. The apartment's a disaster. Nothing good is happening, right? But I'm in a lot of pain, but I got sort of no one to kind of keep me accountable at this point,
And you're becoming a serious drug addict.
So I'm deep into it at that point. Still kind of like not realizing how deep I am into it yet.
Were you selling blues to the boss? Was that part of the deal, or was he getting his own share? Trading for coke?
I was trading him for Klonopin. But like the blues were worth a lot more, so I could get like 8 of his Klonopin for like 2 blues.
Did you start falling into benzos at that point?
Yeah, big time. Xanax, Klonopin, yeah. I'm starting to like forget days at a time.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I was when I found Klonopins and then Xanax. I think Klonopins first. I could not believe how much I loved them.
They were awesome.
They were like weed and opiates for me in that I was like, this is the missing piece of my life.
Yeah.
And it's really solving the problem. Yeah, it's solving fucking everything.
Oh, yeah.
How deep into benzos do you get?
Oh, God. Couple bars a day, 3, 4, 5 bars a day.
Yeah, it's
at
crazy.
the end. Yeah.
Crazy.
And at first, I mean, you take a quarter bar and you're like,
great,
gone.
Yeah.
And so it was bad, man. And those are dangerous too, to get really addicted to.
Were you drinking still?
My interest in drinking was waning because it was more fun to just like sit around and just get high.
Well, benzos and opiates, everyone says, is this lethal combination. I was on, strictly benzos and opiates for years and years and years.
Me too, eventually.
And I know, I can tell. And it's like, it is the fucking like holy grail.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail for a neurotic New York City person who really wants to do nothing.
Yeah.
Once you find that equilibrium of television, people always ask, did I ever wind up on the streets? I was like, dude, if I didn't have cable, I would have been sober.
Yeah.
Just cable, ice cream, Klonopin, and heroin was like all I needed.
Yeah. I had I finessed my mom into like letting me sign up for like the Domino's app on like using her card. So my source of food was like ordering Domino's. Like, that was like, because there was
what did she know at that point?
Because
you're in the same building as her.
I'm denying everything, right?
Is she asking?
Yeah. And worrying and suspecting. And I'm just like denying everything, and she knew things were wrong, right? Police are at my apartment sometimes, right?
What for? Screaming and stuff?
Screaming, somebody, a girl like blacked out one night in my apartment and was like smashing shit, loud noise, music, parties, right? Like there's problems.
And you said your mom came from an addiction background.
Yeah, my grandfather was an alcoholic. Her brother died in his 50s from alcoholism.
So she could probably see it on you.
Yeah, I'm sure. But like, denial is powerful, right? And
especially in your 20s.
Yeah.
You have your place, you have your job, you have this pill connect. Things are actually working.
Yeah, and if you would ask me, I would just I'm depressed. That's how I explained a lot of things, right? Sort of mental health. That was like acceptable, but like I never wanted you to know that I had a drug problem.
Right, hiding behind your depression and fear, whatever.
Yeah, I got PTSD.
What was the PTSD from? The breakup?
Who the fuck knows?
Is that what you'd say?
I don't even remember. I probably would make up stories.
Yeah, definitely. I made up so many fucking stories.
Oh my God, this shit that I made up is horrific, man.
Can you think of anything?
Oh
Can you think of
God.
anything? Give me. I know something's coming in your head.
This is so embarrassing.
This is really good though for the show.
So embarrassing. There was a girl I had known, and then I hadn't seen in a long time. I'm gonna. This is horrible to talk about. I run into her, and I this was like during the like Iraq War, right? You remember like the Iraq War when they were like hiring contractors? Like, you remember there was like Blackwater, these contractors in Iraq that would like. Yeah. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and we sort of reconnected, right? And we're hanging out sometimes, and I'm like, I'm all messed up. And really, it's because if I can't get my drugs, I'm just like miserable,
Dead.
I'm dead. And I told her I was like a contractor for Blackwater. I was all fucking, all the things I saw.
Right.
Oh my God.
That's where the PTSD came from Iraq.
Yeah. I've honestly never, I've told my sponsor about that, but like I've never talked about that.
So what did she do for you?
She felt sorry for me,
Did she give you money, or she like took care of you? Or?
No, but I asked her if I could like borrow $20, and she said, "Here, take my ATM card." And I took like $2,000 over the course of a month, and she found out and was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Did you ever make an amend to her?
I did early on into sobriety, but it was like horrible. Like I owe her another one too.
So, what was I going to say? with your cousin,
Yeah.
does that run out?
It runs out, right? Like he can't. I think things started clamping down at some point over there. Like, the Florida stuff started to dry up because like too many people were dying down there. It was a ridiculous situation. He can't really get him anymore. He's he's, a full addict too. And so now he's keeping them all for himself. I'm starting to try to find them here, but now instead of being like $3, $5, they're like $10, $15, $20, $25, $30.
All of a sudden you're paying New York prices for what you're used to paying pennies on the dollar.
Now I gotta like sell shit, like stuff in my apartment, or I gotta like steal money. Yeah, I gotta like steal money from like the girl, or I gotta like, make up an excuse of why I like owe $1,000 to like someone and I need $1,000 in cash from my mom.
I stole everything. I would sell everything in my apartment. I worked for media companies. I'd steal every CD, sell everything on St. Mark's Place. I would find books in the garbage room and take them to Barnes and Nobles and sell them.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying it to one up you, but just to share your shame.
Yeah.
You're not the only one, Ian.
It was funny because one day I was like, I've never been to a pawn shop. Let me try to pawn.
Where? What pawn shop?
So I'm like, let me pawn my Xbox. I could probably get $100 for my Xbox. I go on the computer, I find there's a pawn shop like 2 blocks away from my house.
On the Upper West Side?
On the Upper West, called Lincoln Square Pawnbrokers.
Amazing. It's like Trading Places or something.
Yeah, right? So I bring the Xbox down there. They're like, I'll give you like $60. I'm like, oh, hey, you can't give me. They give me $60 for the Xbox. I'm like, I'm coming back to get it though. So I didn't sell it to them.
You're pawning it.
I could have gotten like 100 if I sold it to them. I'm like, I need that. I got to get that back. I'm not that bad, right? I'm going to get this back.
Well, did you find that the Xbox with the opiates gets you nodding much better?
Yeah, of course.
Video games are a great tool to attain a nod while on opiates and benzos.
I used to like wake up and I'd be like mid Halo match, like standing there, like, and like just getting shot, and my teammates are like yelling at me, like, what the fuck are you doing? Because I'm playing online. And I'm like, oh shit, and then like.
We don't talk about that nearly enough. Like the things I would do for a nod, I would play video games and I would play guitar. And I would, just for the nod, just as soon as you're engaged on an opiate, it accelerates the opiate.
It's, honestly, it's an incredible feeling, that like dream state.
Yes.
But I'm thinking, like my mind is sort of thinking about stuff, but it's all kind of like good and like kind of positive and loving and like plans I want to make. And then I'm like nodding.
Then you're out.
And then I'm out and then I'm back in and I'm like, maybe I'm going to send a text. It's all kind of... It's weird. It's like this dream state, And
then you have no money and you're like, I have to part with this incredible aspect of my getting high.
Yeah. And that was at that point now, I'm getting sick if I don't get it. And so
when's the first time you get sick?
I couldn't tell you exactly, but I remember it was probably in like the Percocet era where like, and I didn't even know anything about like opiate withdrawal, but like my bottle runs out and then I'm like waking up and I'm like achy and itchy. It wasn't like horrendous opiate withdrawal, but like it dawns on me one day. I'm like, oh shit, I'm withdrawing from these things now.
You don't remember how you figured it out?
I don't think so.
I don't remember either, but it's like such a weird, it's like, because like anybody that's watched a movie knows that opiates are addictive.
Yeah.
And if you run out of opiates, you're going to go into withdrawal and need opiates. And still, for me, it was very surprising. And I could not believe how amazing it was. Like, I never get over it to this day, how amazing it was to get sick and feel better.
Yeah. Like almost instantaneously.
Like a video game.
Feeling like you're dying, like you have the flu, the stomach flu, the body flu, depression all at the same time, and then like feel better in 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
And better than better because you're high.
Yeah. But now you're on that fucking hamster wheel, man.
And there's never going to be enough ever. But you don't realize that at first either.
Not at first, but like fairly quickly I was like, damn. It didn't stop me for years from staying on that train, but I was like, every day, eventually, right, like the job goes away.
How do you lose the job?
I got fired from like I switched companies. I got like fired from another project manager job. I'm like, I run into a girl I knew from middle school. I get this job at this finance company where like you sell like financial products. I'm thinking I'm gonna be a big shot. I'm gonna make all this fucking money. I could never hold it together, right? And I'm on a lot of Xanax. That's when like my boss brings me into his office. He's like, "Do you realize you were like screaming at like one of your clients on the phone the other day?" And I'm like, "No, I wasn't." Like, and if I was on a lie detector, the needle wouldn't have moved because I don't remember doing it. He's like, "Yeah, you were like screaming. You can't do that." So eventually, I just like stopped showing up to that job. Like I just couldn't do it anymore. It was like on commission. It wasn't like salary based. So like one day I just was like, I can't do it anymore, and I stopped going.
And they knew.
Oh God, they knew. The girl who got me that job is another amends I need to make. I borrowed money from her also, and
you really got to up your 9th step game. I think.
You know what? Can I tell you something? I have not gotten through all the amends that I had on my 9th stepper initially, and I hate to admit
it's messing with
it's
you.
Messing with me.
So you can do it now.
I have designs on doing it.
You can just like I would today, just for the fuck of it, write out the list, and just pick one, and then cross it off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened? So what happened with that woman?
I became a disaster at work, and she broke up with me. I'm still working there. She's my supervisor. It's a horrible situation, and anyway,
it's got to be very stressful.
A mess. I woke up once. I sort of came to in like mid-April one year at that job and could not remember the past 2 months. Like I didn't know who had played in the Super Bowl. I didn't know like, all these things. And I thought I had died, which is, I can't even express to you how crazy this was. I like come to and have no recollection of the last like 8 weeks. I thought I was dead because I'm like, how do I not remember?
Well, every day is kind of like Groundhog Day where you don't know what the fuck is going on.
I was just on so many benzos. And you know what was crazy? In that 2-month period, I made more money at that. I made like $30,000.
On autopilot.
On autopilot.
Yeah.
I looked at all this paperwork, signatures from people I never had met.
Amazing. It's amazing.
I think I just had the balls to like go and be like, hey, give me $1 million.
You just weren't, you had no, whatever the thing is, you had no id or whatever the thing that holds you back was gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
To this day, I have no recollection of what happened. But that all ended. I can't show up to work anymore. And now it's like I gotta steal. I gotta manipulate and bullshit to just.
What kind of stealing?
For a while, I like had access to like my parents' like ATM card, and I think my mom just sort of turned the other way. $60 here, $80 there, but then it's like every day. I'm like going into the apartment at night and like taking the debit card and like taking out $100. Now it's the girl who I told that I was a contractor. Like now I get access to her. Now I'm taking a couple grand from her over the course of a month. Now I'm overcharging my roommate Tommy, so he's paying $300, but he's getting $150 worth of pills, and I'm getting free pills. Whatever it is, right? Like I'm selling shit, I'm pawning stuff,
No, you're trying to turn everything you have into a way to make money just to get drugs.
Yeah, like I'm stealing your iPad from your apartment when I come over one day and then helping you look for it, literally, right? Like, I don't know.
They always say that junkies don't do that just crackheads do it.
I did it.
Yeah.
But like everyone knew, right? Like I was like thinking I'm sort of getting it, but everyone knew. But like kind of was turning the other way,
And it sounds like you fucking hustled your way through for a long time. Because when I was in that state, I borrowed money from everybody that I could. Yeah. I sold everything that I had. I would borrow money from people in the building.
Yeah.
Strangers, basically, people I knew in the elevator. And then I would have I would tell my parents, and they would give me money to pay them back. But I would tell my parents that I borrowed more than I give them, so I'd have money after I paid them back, and then I could just do it again. Yeah. But I ran out of everything, and I was like, I had to go on methadone. I was like, I'm just going to go on. I can't do this.
Well, guess where I ended up?
You were on methadone?
I ended up on Metropolitan Hospital on methadone.
Where's that?
What is it? 97th and is it 2nd Avenue? They had a methadone clinic. One night.
How old were you?
Must have been my maybe I'm 28, 29 now.
What do you remember about being like, I have to go on methadone? By the way, thank you for coming. Like, I never get somebody from New York who's such a fuck up, who I can really relate to.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's beautiful. It's like I'm remembering all sorts of stuff.
I love talking about this with you too, because I don't, even in the rooms, I don't meet a lot of meet. I feel like we shared a pretty...
It's a very similar trajectory.
Similar sort of, trajectory. So, by the way, you ever try hydromorphone?
No.
Dude, I got into... So, towards the end, I'll tell you real quick.
Savor it. I want to hear I want to hear the hydromorphone story. You don't need to tell me quickly.
I meet a buddy that I knew from elementary school, who, by the way, now is this like fantastic artist who I just bought a beautiful painting from for like thousands of dollars because I can like afford that now.
Because you're sober and successful.
Known this kid since first grade, but he's working the door at this restaurant on 16th Street and introduces me to like a limo driver who lives in Staten Island who's got blues. He got him from an injury or something. So now I'm going every night to Staten Island. I'm like either taking the ferry down there and I'm trying to run to the Dairy Queen, give him the money, get the pills, and run and get the one back. And if I don't catch the one back, I'm sitting there shaking for 30 minutes, or I'm going into the bathroom at the Staten Island Ferry Terminal in Staten Island, into the bathroom and chopping up a pill on top of the toilet, which is disgusting, and snorting it just to feel better. So like that's my like nightly routine. And one night he's like, hey, I got these things called stop signs. They're like these orange hydromorphone pills. And they were like...
I never heard of that.
They're like, I think they're Dilaudid maybe? Hydromorphone. I don't know what exactly. These things got you on another planet. So now I'm doing those, but they really plug up your nose really bad.
And you weren't shooting anything.
Not yet. But that was next. So, and I'm, so this guy, he's like a Russian guy. I'm like beholden to this guy, like if I can't make it to Staten Island or he doesn't have anything, I'm sick. But I got to get the money to pay the Russian, every night or as much as I can. For the Dilaudid. The Dilaudid, the blues, the Xanax. He had it all, this guy. And, but he was like, my God, I'm like, oh, when is this fucking guy? And,
did he become your friend or never your friend?
What was crazy is I would like hang out at his house sometimes and like barbecue, like him and his wife, and like he'd be like cooking on the grill, his like he had like a 25-year-old like stepdaughter who like would hang out at my apartment sometimes. Like it was a really weird situation. And
was he an addict too or no?
I mean, I think so, but like I think he was sort of more on maintenance. He had like some kind of leg injury. Like, I never got the full story. He said he hurt himself, like, crashed a motorcycle. So I think he, like, got prescriptions for all this shit, but, like, didn't need to take it that much. And so he'd sell it and he'd make extra money. But he would be, like, he'd disappear for days and I'd be just, like, in agony, I had, like, a couple other sources of pills, but, like, nothing like this guy. Like, he was the guy.
What was his name? First name?
Sasha.
Sasha. Good Russian drug dealer name.
I don't owe that guy to fucking amends.
Good.
Fuck
there
that
you
guy.
Fine.
But
he probably owes you an amends.
Yeah, maybe.
You never know.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder what I would do if I would see him. I'm not mad at the guy, but he definitely knew that he kind of had me by the balls.
But that's their industry.
That's drug dealing.
There was a guy who I met in my last stage of using heroin.
Yeah.
His name, he had two names. One of his names was Puma, and one of his names was Indio.
Jesus.
And he was like a pretty heavy Dominican guy with a ponytail who lived in like an SRO on 42nd Street. Yeah. And I met him, like in the end of my heroin addiction, I would cop in front of a homeless shelter that's next door to that hotel, the Soho Hotel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly.
And I would stand out there, and one night I'm just walking laps looking for somebody, and I meet this guy, Indio, and he starts just coming to I'm waitering at Katz's, so I'm making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And he's coming over after work every day, and I'm paying his cab, and I'm buying like bundles off of him every day. And me and him become like very close.
Yeah.
We're hanging out, and we're eating, and we're watching TV and smoking cigarettes, and he's drinking, and I'm shooting dope. He was on methadone, he wasn't doing dope.
Yeah.
And then, after I got sober and I started doing Dopey, I went over, I became friends with a woman who is at the methadone clinic what's that movie theater on Houston Street? The art movie theater,
Like the IFC Center? Oh no, not
the,
Houston.
It begins with an A. What's that fancy movie theater on Houston Street? Doesn't matter. And there's a methadone clinic down the street, and I wanted to do a segment for Dopey called the Methadone Minute. And I'm hanging out on that street, whatever. It's like, it's not McDougal Street, but it's one of those streets above Houston. And an Indio comes by, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And I recorded with him for a second, and he's like happy that I'm sober.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
But he gave me his number, and I'm like,
stay away. Yeah.
So you have this nice relationship with this Russian drug dealer who has you by the balls.
Yeah.
And when do you wind up on methadone?
I think I actually sold him a life insurance policy too. I was still working at the financial place in the beginning. But
did you trade it for pills?
Who got on? No, I think I like took the commission. It was like $2,000 and just like went nuts for a weekend. So one night, you know, I'm sick with just the cycle of this shit, but I can't stop. And I like Googled. I'm like, you know, opiate addiction. I get like an 800 number, and it like links me to like I call, and they're like, there's a methadone clinic. So I like go the next day to the methadone clinic. So now like every day, you know, I sort of go and like get enrolled, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do better, right? I'm gonna like do better. I'm gonna like take the methadone. You know how that goes, right? But it at least gave me a base to like not get sick. But I'd have to go every day except Sunday. They'd give me an extra bottle on Saturday to take home.
Love the take home.
But I'm at the clinic. The girl, you know, these two really nice like Trinidadian black ladies, you know, I'm like, hello, and they like pour the cup with the pill, and I'm taking it, and every day. And I would see a counselor there.
Were you using at the methadone clinic or no?
Not at the clinic, but I was like using like, you know, but it was all like, you know, I'm in there feeling like I'm sort of young and like whatever. It was all these like kind of older, beaten up people, man, but like the nicest people. Like all the people like waiting online, they were all like chill. They were all nice, you know, but yeah, I had to go every day. And it was fucking horrible.
And but like you were still, did you ever actually wind up just on methadone?
No, I was always like supplementing.
Would you use before you would go to the clinic or after in the day, or were you doing a lot of benzos?
After.
Were you doing a lot of coke then or no?
I was doing anything.
Right.
Especially when I didn't have pills. I couldn't get opiates. My go-to would be to like get a bunch of coke, and I could sort of like, it was like such an upper that I like wouldn't feel as sick, but I'd just sit in my apartment and just do coke for hours.
How much methadone did you wind up on?
What are the doses of methadone again?
I don't know. I wound up on too much. They're like milligrams. It's like,
but they're low, right? Isn't like 8 milligrams or something?
No, I mean, I bet you start at like 30 or 30. Something. Yeah. Doesn't matter.
I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Enough benzos. Benzos really erase everything.
Yeah.
Like I had Dr. Drew on the show a couple times, and I was like, how do I access these benzo memories? And he's like, you don't.
They're gone.
They're gone forever. You'll never get them back.
Someone explained to me like it's like when you black out drinking, it like taps the same part of the brain.
I always want to see like that part of my life.
Yeah, me too.
You know, I always want like the VCR to play back what the fuck was I doing?
You know, I think of it would probably be a pretty good way to like stay sober, right? Just be like, holy shit, like look at, you know, what I was like. I was just sitting there talking, you know, whatever the fuck you were doing. It was crazy.
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
So how did you wind up getting better?
So the contractor, the girl with the contracting story, right? Like the story of me being a contractor, she ends up sort of having enough of, you know, like we're kind of seeing each other, but like I steal the money, whatever. And I don't know what happened, but she's sort of done with me. And now I find heroin, right? And I meet this woman who lived in the building next to me who had like lupus, and she would like have like oxys and whatever. And she introduces me to this woman who has heroin, and it's way cheaper. And she's dropping off bundles for me with her like kid in the backseat, and I'm taking bundles of heroin. The way that it progresses is that the girl I'm seeing kind of has enough of me, and I overdose one night, and I like kind of wake up on my couch. I'm shooting heroin at this point.
When's the first time you shot it?
I was snorting it for maybe a month, and then like literally looked on YouTube how to shoot heroin and like figured out like with the spoon and the cotton.
So
and
it was
all that.
nobody with you?
alone.
How'd you get the needle?
I would go to like CVS and tell them, oh, like I have diabetes. I need a needle. Looked at like what gauge is the best, whatever. And it was scary the first time.
You did great research.
Yeah.
You were a great Google junkie for sure.
And they're like, don't get the cotton in the thing, whatever. Like, and I shot it the first time and I was like on another planet. It was like getting high for the first time again. And anyway, I overdose. I wake up. I like can't feel my leg because I've been like slumped in the same position.
It's amazing you didn't go to treatment through this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. No detox, no nothing.
None. I had parents that were in denial and blew through their life savings to help me at least give me a place to live, and
just
support.
paying for your spot.
Just paying for my spot.
And you were like, I'm depressed. I'm fucked up. You weren't like, I'm a heroin addict.
They knew. They knew I was on drugs. I don't think they ever knew I was taking heroin though. And so she ends up, I call her, I overdose, I know something's wrong. I like had bit through my tongue. I must have had like been seizing and stuff. She comes down, takes me to the hospital, and she's like, what the fuck's wrong with it? I'm like, I don't know. She get back. They're like, stop doing heroin. I get back.
Was that the first seizure?
I as far as I know. I get back to my apartment. She sort of leaves and takes my keys, and I like, there's this kid who lives in the project building next to me. I'm going to get sick. So I call this guy. I don't know where. I scrape together a couple of bucks. He brings me like a few Percocets or whatever. Or a couple pills that I crushed up. And I guess I'd given her my key. She comes in the next morning to check on me at like 7 a.m. I like hear her come in. I'm like, and she sees the powder on the table. And she's like, Ian, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what? She's like, what the fuck are you doing? What you just... and I don't know what it was about that moment, but I look at her, I look at my life, and I was just done.
And you hadn't been shooting too long.
Maybe like a month.
It's a good time to get out.
Good time to get out. Thank God I didn't die. And I break down, I start sobbing to her, and I say, I can't stop. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. I need help. I can't, and I'm like sobbing in her arms, And that was like the first time I'd ever admitted to anyone that I had a problem. Being confronted with direct evidence, I would look you in the face and be like, what are you talking about? That was the first time I ever just sort of broke down and came clean to anyone ever in my life. And she was compassionate, and she's like, you're going to go see your therapist. I'm seeing a therapist lying, right, whatever.
You didn't tell the therapist?
Nothing. I'm like,
so you're not telling anyone?
Nobody.
Just like the drug dealers, the methadone ladies, they're the only people that know.
Yeah.
And your roommate, is he still there?
I don't even I think so. I don't even remember at this point. It's such a blurry time, that time. I think he still was. He was still there. But like, I don't know. I think he was like seeing someone. He's like staying in her house a lot. I'm like alone in my apartment a lot. And she says, you're going to see the therapist and you're telling him everything. I was also on Suboxone maintenance at this time, by the way, with the therapist. So I'm getting Suboxone. I'm playing that whole Suboxone game. And I did. I went to see him. She came with me to that appointment that week, sat there, and I told him everything. And she waited. He opens the door. She's there. She's like, did he tell you everything? He's like, he told me everything. Or he goes, did you tell me everything? I said, I told you everything.
Was it like ridiculously relieving?
It was terrifying and such a relief. And then he got me a bed at a rehab like 5 days later.
Where'd you go? Oh, Silver Hills.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Good old Silver Hill.
Did your folks pay for it?
My dad drives me up there and he's doing the paperwork. They're kind of giving me like the little physical. I walk into the room where my dad is and he looks up at me and he's kind of like, this is $30,000 fucking dollars. He doesn't say that. He goes, this is 30 grand, you better make it worthwhile, he's sort of laughing, but like, and I was like, I will. And I've been sober ever since.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
You never hear that story.
Yeah.
You never hear that story.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to every place that I went to, they gave us like deals, like they scholarship me to every place, and I got better nowhere. No, I never went to treatment and got better. How was Silver Hills?
It was great. It's like a country club,
Yeah,
right?
bougie.
So
What did they detox you with?
Suboxone.
Nice.
I was there with some pretty famous, well-known people. I won't
Nice.
say, but some currently very famous actor was my roommate for a little while, which was very interesting. I don't know if he's still sober, but
Does his name rhyme with Rolando Clume?
it does not.
Okay.
But anyway, a really well-known guy who was great. But they got me on the Suboxone. They're stepping me down.
Did it rhyme with Marty Hang?
No, but anyway, sort of close, but no.
I'm dying to know.
I
No,
know.
don't tell me.
I'll tell you off air.
Very good.
Although actually I won't, because that wouldn't
No,
be
don't
right.
don't tell me.
That wouldn't
We'll
be
leave
right.
it. We'll leave that alone.
We'll leave it at that.
But you did a nice job at Silver Hills.
I did well. They introduced me to AA. I'm like, AA is not what I need, right? Like my first day in the detox, they're like, there's an AA meeting at 7:00, and I'm like, that's great. And I'm looking around like for a phone to like call someone to come get me, because I'm like, I don't need AA. I need like a good therapist and like medication. But I went to a meeting. The guy comes in. He looks like a typical kind of Connecticut looking guy, right? Like
Silver Hills guy, yeah.
the loafers,
Yeah.
the sort of shorter like khaki shorts, like the finance vest, like the Titleist hat. And he's like, he's probably in his 40s, and he goes, like mid 40s. He goes, yeah, so I was smoking crack with my two small kids in the back of the car in a blackout going to buy crack in the Bronx. And I like leaned forward. I'm like, oh, this is my kind of guy, and I was hooked. I didn't know what the program was about, but I was like, I had never heard people share that like viscerally like shameful behavior before, like I had never understood that like I wasn't the only person who had done this, like, with respect, right? Like this sort of like scumbaggy, like really dangerous kind of shit. I thought I was the only one.
Well, it sounds like you were actually ready, and that you actually felt the healing of program. I mean, it's amazing to me.
Yeah. From day one, I like identified, and I got a temporary sponsor there, and I've been sober ever since. Thank God.
Did you come back and go to meetings straight away?
I did. I actually, against my better judgment, because like I want to come back and like get the girlfriend back. I'm gonna lift weights for 30 days and like get in shape, and then like the girl who would like help me get into talk to the therapist. I'm like, I'll like get her back, because I'll get in shape and like get some sun, and she'll be so into me, and she wasn't.
Did you lift weights and get sun?
I lifted weights and got some sun.
That's good.
But
It didn't work.
It didn't work out. And against my own, so that was my plan. And then they were like, no, you're going to live in a sober house on the Upper West Side. And I did.
How was that?
It was tough. I was not far from my apartment. But I had a curfew, and you know what though? I don't know if any of those guys are still sober. So I stayed sober. I started going to meetings on the Upper West Side, and I did it. And my sponsor said, your first day, raise your hand and say you just got out of rehab and you want to introduce yourself. And I did it. So I took suggestions, and it worked.
Did you go, was it 71st Street Workshop or something? There's some great meeting over there. 79th Street Workshop?
79th Street, that's the east side.
Isn't there one on the west side too?
There's like the Oxford. I went to like
did you go to Oxford group?
I went to the Oxford group.
You wore the coat and tie and all that?
No, they wore a coat and tie.
Okay, I don't know. I never went.
Oh, yeah, there's no coat and tie.
No coat and tie.
They called the Oxford group on West 84th.
PAX, no?
PAX is downtown.
I never went to any of these places.
Yeah.
But I've heard horror stories.
Ansonia. Listen, they can be
tough.
They can be tough. They can be cultish. They can sort of thump the big book in your face, right? But like, there's also a lot of really good sobriety at these places.
I mean, it's like a crash course. It's like pure. It's like purer program. I got sober on Sullivan Street at a place, and I went to big book meetings. I was all about it. I still go to meetings.
Yeah, me too.
So what did you do for work?
I had no job in the beginning, and then I got a job. So I'm living in the sober house, right? Like my parents are like giving me like $150 a week, whatever, right? I'm like making it do with that. They provide meals and stuff, and then I got a job at a summer camp as a camp counselor. Like through all this, I had no felonies. I had no like serious criminal record.
You were an athlete.
I was I was still, I worked out at rehab, right, to try to get in shape. So I get a job at a summer camp. It's like a travel camp.
Like a teen tour kind
Like
of thing?
sort of, yeah, like it's like got little kids, but then like middle school kids. And I was like one of the counselors, and we'd go away for a week to like, you know, like Virginia or like, you know,
The
Maine.
parents knew where you just were.
Oh
and
my God.
Yeah.
But you know, I wouldn't go to meetings for a week, by the way. So it wasn't the smartest thing, but I was sober a few months. I get this job, and it was amazing. I'm going to like, you know, Portland, Maine for a week. And I actually really love kids. So like I'd have a lot of fun, right? And the freedom of not having to have a pocket full of pills.
And you're responsible, and you get the joy of actually earning your responsibility and living up to it.
I'm getting a paycheck, like
Yeah.
$350 a week, which is like a fortune to me. And it was great. And so that was my first job. I ended up getting a job at a school as like a teacher's aide at a public school with
Cool.
second graders. That was
Where was that?
in Tribeca at
Nice.
PS. Oh my God, I can't, whatever. Anyway, a public school down there.
Yeah.
I'm like tutoring kids now. I end up getting like an after school job for one of the moms, like taking her son to after school programs.
Everything is super wholesome.
Wholesome. I'm still I'm working like 2, 3, 4 jobs. I'm making some money, but not really that much. But like my life is like amazing. You know, I'm sober. I'm around all this kind of wholesome stuff all day. I'm going to a lot of meetings.
You're free and you're young and
Yeah.
you're healthy.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was like a new planet.
How did you get into all this influencer stuff?
So it was while I was at the school working these 3 jobs, right? I was seeing a girl at the time who my new hobby became like going for walks. I don't know if you had this experience, but like I'd go for a walk like down on like a nice day, like down like Amsterdam Avenue, and it was like a whole new, I had like never seen it before. And to be honest, my eyes were like shut. And I'm not to be like sort of corny or cliche, but like my whole life, I never really looked around. You know, I was like, what's in front of me? Even as like a teenager, right? Like who can, and it was like this crazy experience, just like look around. So we'd walk around and we'd like stop in somewhere to eat. And one day we're like, let's go like to a new neighborhood. And she's on Instagram looking at, I'm like, what are you doing on Instagram? She's like, this is how I find restaurants. I download it. I see that there's these people that go to restaurants and do this. I'm like telling her, I'm like, do you know this girl Linda like goes to, she's like, yeah, everybody knows that people do this. So like, you know, we follow where Linda went and tried a slice of pizza from here or whatever. And one day I'm like, you know, I'm on the train. I'm like, I'm going to make my own food page. And that was a little hobby to stay out of trouble, a little thing to spend a couple of bucks on the weekend.
Get interested in.
A little fun thing for us to do together. And that was it.
How long had you been sober?
I've been sober probably like 3. So I've had my page for like 6 years, so about like 3 years at this point.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then how do you come up with I'm gonna eat this?
I'm on the subway one day, the same day I decide to make the food page.
All right. So you're on the subway.
I'm on the
Can
subway.
you believe my father is hammering during an interview? He doesn't hammer ever.
If you knew my father, he would do something
He
similar.
found these paintings in the garbage, and he's decided that he needs to put them up now.
Yeah.
He's a sick person.
My dad is equally insane, but also amazing, you know, but out of his mind.
Yes.
The obsession runs deep, my
Yes,
friend.
yes.
I know where I get it from. So I'm on the train. I'm like, I'm gonna make this food page, a little hobby. Me and my friends used to sit around smoking weed and getting high, and we'd see like a commercial for like Little Caesars. Somebody would be like, "Oh my God, I'd eat that. I'm gonna eat that. I'm gonna eat that." You know, like that. And so I was like, I'll call it I'm gonna eat that. I'm gonna eat that was taken. Like I tried to do it on Instagram, someone had it, so I was like, I'm gonna eat this. And I'm like, that's pretty stupid.
Is it I'm gonna eat this? And
I'm
not
gonna eat this.
That?
No, it's I'm gonna eat this.
Okay.
No, it's okay. I think you said I'm gonna eat this.
Okay, good.
But I created it and I'm like, well, it's dumb. I'll change it at some point. And then I just never changed it.
That's very catchy. So
I
where
think
do
so.
you start?
Where did I go?
Yeah.
I would run out to like during my lunch break at work, I'd like run to like Zucker's and like get a bagel. This was like when Instagram was like pictures and shit and stuff, you know. There was a place called like Dirty Bird down on Chambers Street that had like this really good fried chicken.
Yeah, I remember
take a
that
picture.
place.
Yeah, you remember it? It's closed.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, right? Or on the weekends, I'd go get pizza, or Mama's 2 up in my neighborhood opened up, and I don't know what I'm doing, but that's how it started.
How did it grow? I mean, you have almost 700,000 followers. You go to every restaurant. You have videos with almost 1 million views or millions of views.
I have videos with like 20 million
20 million views.
Can you believe it?
I can believe it. How did it grow?
I spent a lot of money and time. I think the alcoholic, that obsessive nature, right? Maybe I got 50 followers, and then I got 100, and then I was like, I became sort of like, I wanna make my page something, And I remember thinking, if I ever get invited anywhere by a place, or that would be so cool, And I just sort of had this drive to kind of. Now, mind you, I never thought it would be a business or a full-time job, but it was like, it was fun. But that addict kind of brain helped me just sort of like, all right, where am I going to next? Where am I going? And that's what I would spend my free time doing. It kept me out of trouble.
So when's the first time you get kicked out of a place?
So anyway, and by the way, I'll just tell you, I took a picture of these fluffy Japanese pancakes. I probably had maybe 1,000 followers. And my girlfriend at the time, she's pouring some syrup on it. I posted.
It was the video or was it still?
It was a still photo. I posted. I go see a movie. I come out. It has 20,000 likes. It was the first time I ever went viral.
And you're like, hi.
I'm hooked.
You're fucking
Excuse
high.
me. I'm hooked.
Yeah.
And it is an addiction.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my social media is fucking garbage, but I do Katz's social media, and it was very hard to make anything work. And then I had this vision to do this combination Reuben, and I was like, I need all the elements. I need steam, liquid, solid, and I made this video, and I forgot about that. I got 45 million views.
Yeah.
I was high. It was the greatest thing in ever.
It's definitely an addiction, right?
Well, but I just had Katz's. You had you. It was great.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still fun to go.
Oh, so fun.
Right? Sad as you're look at me. Look, I did something.
So how does it go from there to a business?
So TikTok comes around, right? This guy I know, he's like, you got to get on TikTok. You got to make videos. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. So I sort of emulated what he did, where he'd walk to the store, he'd talk about it. And so I do my first video, and I'm like, why? I'm doing the voiceover. I'm like, so I went to, it sort of starts like that. And then at the end, I don't know how to end it. I'm like, what do I say? Give it an 8 out of 10. No. Are you smashing this? Or are you not? Nah. I had a clip of me biting a chicken tender, and I said in the voiceover, I go, I kept eating chicken tenders until they kicked me out, but I had a great time. All right, it's stupid, but it'll work.
Yeah, sure.
I posted on TikTok. Same kind of thing. I go do others. I check back 3 hours later. It's got 200,000 views, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing that. Which then progressed last November to I'm at this place called Elm Street Diner in Stamford.
Yeah, I just watched that video. It looks so. They're shooting up the fucking food with.
It's nuts.
Does that trigger you? They use actual syringes.
I love it.
Yeah.
Chipotle mayo or
yeah,
whatever.
It looked amazing.
So the guy, I've been there a few times, and the guy goes, let's go nuts. I want this video to go crazy. And I had always had this idea, as if it's brilliant. I'm like, because in all of my videos at the end, I go, hey, they kicked me out. I always say it at the end. And I'm like, let's film the kicking out. And he's like, I'm with it. He makes this giant shake with a sparkler.
Yeah.
We film this little skit of him being like, you gotta go.
The chef takes out the knife on you.
The chef takes a knife out.
Much like the knife you brought to that house in college.
Yeah, I think it was a cleaver that he had, but similar.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes.
But it was all in fun this time. And, so the guy's kicking me out with the shake, and we were like, what the hell? I'm wearing a Lakers jersey. It's ridiculous. I post it, same kind of thing. I check and it's got 22 million views on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, so now this is my next thing, and I think it's funny. I think it's stupid, and
TikTok pays you.
TikTok pays me.
Instagram pays you.
Instagram does not pay.
Facebook.
I think I can monetize Facebook, but I don't even know how to do
YouTube?
YouTube pays, yes.
So is TikTok the biggest one for you?
Right now, TikTok is the biggest one.
It's fucking awesome. And we crossed paths because you did it at Katz's, and you brought the dude, Oz Perlman, and he tells me he's going to come on Dopey, and then he reneges.
Yeah.
He reneged. Yeah, it's okay. He's a sweetheart.
You know what? I think he's a little bit of a straight, kind of narrow guy.
And I don't blame him. I think the second you look into what we do here, it's I can't. He said maybe when his book comes out.
He's a family man.
Sweet
really
guy.
nice guy. But if you're not sure if what he does is real or not, and I don't know how the hell he does it, but it's real. I mean, at least in the sense of like, it's not like a parlor trick. I don't know how he knows things, but he knew stuff. It's really fucking trippy.
He's a great talent.
Yeah,
for sure. And you just went to our Big Cats' 12 Chairs Club. How was the food?
The food was great.
Did you shoot anything?
I did.
All right,
did.
good.
But like, I'm at a level now where like that goes on my story. It doesn't get like a full post.
Not to mention, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think Cats' is so snobby. They feel like they've posted enough 12 chair stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like I had it. It's this delicious hummus with describe it. You're a food.
It's like hummus and some spices and chickpeas, and then they slice that Katz's pastrami on the top and kind of throw it in the middle of the hummus and give you a side of pita, and you make little sandwiches.
So
with
they
it.
brought it to Katz's. They brought all the stuff and made the plates at Katz's. It was so good.
I mean, I think you put that pastrami on anything and it's going to be delicious.
I'm trying to set up a partnership with Marcus Samuelson.
Oh yeah,
so you should come and cover that one.
I would love to.
Yeah, but I don't want it in the stories. I want a real fucking post, Ian.
Listen, if it's Marcus, if it's Katz's,
okay, you'll do it for that.
I'm a big fan of Katz's.
Very good.
Well, 12 chairs. Who cares?
We love you too, and I think this was really amazing. And is there anything you want to say that you didn't say? How do people? I'm gonna eat this on TikTok. I'm gonna eat this on Instagram.
Yeah, IMMA_eat_this on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube.
And you don't have to do anything else for dough. For money.
No, this is my full-time job.
Amazing.
I do. I get brand stuff. It's my full-time job.
Sick. And do you ever find yourself getting fat from all this food?
I'm at the gym a lot.
How much?
I walk a lot. I'm there almost every day. I walk a lot. And on my days off, I eat relatively healthy. So, I kind of keep it in check that way. But I'll tell you one thing. It's awesome working for myself, but a lot of unstructured time for an alcoholic and an addict can be dangerous. So I stay busy working out. I do a lot of service in AA. I go to a lot of meetings. Not to plug that, but
why shouldn't you plug that?
It's a big part of my life.
Everyone who's listening is either using or sober, so I think it's good for everyone to hear that.
Service is key, and all the success I've had, and all the this kind of rich, full life that I have. I hate to be cliche.
It's not cliche.
It's all because I got sober, but I stay close to the program. There's been times in my sobriety where I've gotten away from it and done a number on my life, so I got to stay close,
100%. I mean, I got sober in 2015, and 3 months later, we started making this show.
Yeah.
And I obviously I'm still doing it, and I was waiting tables at Katz's at the time, and now I do cool stuff, and I have and I live. You saw Dopey Love; it was pretty fancy.
It was awesome.
Were you impressed?
I was impressed.
It was pretty fancy.
You're great live, and the podcast is great, and thank you for having me on too.
Dude,
it's an honor for me.
It's an honor for me, and you also are friendly with Gary Delabate.
I'm friendly with Gary Delabate,
and you said there might be a way to get me on the wrap-up show. Is that really possible?
I think it's possible. I would listen.
Are you gassing me up with that?
I'm not gassing you up with that.
Are you blowing smoke?
I got the thing with Gary is I know Gary, but it's like hard to get Gary to like focus on something. Like we've been trying to like shoot a video together for like a year and a half now.
Bring him to Katz's.
I've seen him like 10 times, and it's just hard. He's very busy with the Stern show still. It's hard to get him to focus, but I will make it my mission to get you on the wrap-up
Just
show.
bring him to Katz's.
I'll bring him to Katz's.
And I'll hook it up.
Yeah.
And then whatever
Easy.
happens.
Okay.
But, Ian, thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having me.
How did you have fun?
Yes.
Good. Did you have fun?
I had a lot of fun.
Are you going to make some amends?
Yes, I am.
You still have a sponsor?
I do, and I brought it up, and I need to bring it up again. That there's some stuff I need to do.
My suggestion, being less sober than you, or less time sober.
By like 2 months.
It's just fucking, and I meet so many people who are like our year.
Yeah.
And it's like the class of 2015.
Yeah.
It's cool, I think.
It was a good time to get sober.
It was good for us. But don't make it so crazy. Make a list and just reach out because you have that freedom.
Yeah.
And then if you have it in your head, it's like it'll feel better.
Yeah, I need to because obviously it's still on my mind all these years later. So.
But all that stuff made for a very great Dopey episode.
Thanks.
So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It was awesome.